Hey everyone, James Azar here with CyberHub Engage. We are live at the Atlanta Cybersecurity Conference in beautiful Atlanta, Georgia with the friends over at Data Connectors. It is March 5th, 2020, and here are your headlines for your daily cyber briefing. And let's get right into what's happening today. Chinese hackers use a decade-old Trojan in a cyber espionage campaigns. Ryuk ransomware hits Fortune 500 company EMCOR. Carnival Cruise Lines is reporting a breach, and Let's Encrypt comes out screaming 1 million certificates are still non-compliant after they've asked people to update and remove those certificates after a known bug. And now for your daily cyber briefing, brought to you by our friends over at cyberhubusa.co. Go to cyberhubusa.co for virtual CISO and cyber awareness training as you see needed. And now into our headline story today, where the war between U.S. and Chinese cyber hackers and attackers continues, where Chinese cyber attackers continue to improve and deploy a decade-old remote access Trojan in an ongoing campaign against Russian, Japanese, and South Korean targets. On Thursday, researchers from Cisco Thales said that the Bisonal RAT is an unusual sample of malware that has improved, rolled back, and refined over a period of a decade. An uncommon practice by threat actors who more often will overhaul their weapon arsenal with new tools and software over time. In a report that they shared ahead of the publication, Thales said that the Trojan has been linked to Tonto Team, a suspected Chinese state-sponsored APT group belonging to the Chinese military. According to FireEye, Tonto Team is potentially based at the Xinjiang Military Regional Technical Reconnaissance Bureau and may have been involved in the 2017 attacks against South Korea's Terminal High-Altitude Air Defense Missile System deployed in response to North Korean missile tests. Previous Tonto Team attacks have been connected to targets in Russia, Japan, and South Korea. Cisco Thales cybersecurity researchers Warren Mercer, Paul Raskingers, and I'm sorry, Paul, for butchering your name, and Vitor Ventura say that the Bisonal has been spotted in recent campaigns against the same country with a particular focus on Russian speakers. It appears that cyber bond between China and Russia is starting to crack. Their campaigns have had very specific targets, which would suggest their endgame was more around operational intelligence gathering and espionage. The first stage of the attack chain is usually a spear phishing email, as we've all come to be known, sometimes bolstered through social engineering and a lured document. Previous attacks waves dating back to 2009 used malicious documents relating to national research, the military, and the South Korean government, as well as state-owned Russian companies and conferences. Most recently, Thales has identified a Russian RTF document designed to drop a winhelp.wll file containing Bisonal alongside a variety of South Korean documents, using similar RTF exploits to drop the specific malware. The Russian example relates to research, whereas the South Korean phishing email attachments claim to relate to the country's government. Bisonal has a history going back a decade, as I stated before. It was first compiled on December 24th, 2010 as a Christmas Eve RAT, and the oldest version of the Trojan was its most simple variant designed as malware, which used a Windows API to execute threats containing the code of the malware. Only 3 commands were implemented: command execution via the shell execute, the ability to list running processes, and cleanup functions. A year later, Bisonal was given execution upgrades, including the disguise of function names and API usages through string splitting. Later in the year, a new version was released with XOR encoding and added support for proxy servers. Throughout 2012, the developers swung back and forth between hiding malicious codes and libraries, changing hard-coded C2 variables, and tampering with the code to establish itself as a Windows service, and eventually switching to a .exe format. No new samples were found in 2013. However, in 2014, the Bisonal developers relaunched an Mpress packer, as well as a switch from XOR to a new custom algorithm designed to improve execution. In addition, a large part of the code was rewritten, including a move from raw sockets connect to the C2 to WinInit. 2 years later, Bisonal underwent packer change, which made analysis more difficult, which involved what the researchers call useless jumps and calls and almost no direct calls to functions. The massive overhauls that took place last year included the rollback of past mistakes, the implementation of new packers, 2 new execution algorithms, anti-sandbox techniques, including the use of junk code, and a new Microsoft Office extension and RTF document that utilizes the CVE 2018-07908, an equation editor vulnerability that promotes remote code execution on a vulnerable machine. They're using old tricks with new ways of attacking current infrastructure. We have more on this on our website. You'll also see it on our social media page, so make sure you go there to check that out. And now to our next story, where EMCOR, a US-based Fortune 500 company that specializes in engineering and industrial construction services, disclosed last month a ransomware incident that took down some of its IT systems. The incident took place on February 15th and was identified as an infection with the Ryuk ransomware strain. Details of the attack and the aftermath are not public, but the message announcing the ransomware infection is still present on the company's website almost 3 weeks after the attack. EMCOR said that not all of its systems were impacted and that only certain IT systems were affected, which it promptly shut down to contain the infection. The company said it was restoring services, but did not specify if it paid the ransom demand or if it was restoring from backups. EMCOR also said that a current review of the infection did not uncover any signs that the employer or customer data had been taken in the attack. EMCOR made this clarification because in recent weeks, several ransomware gangs have begun stealing data from infected companies and threatening to release said data unless the victim pays the ransom demand. Ryuk, however, is not one of them, so this behavior has been seen with ransomware groups such as Revel, Maze, Nemity, Doppler, Paymer, and Pond Locker. In its financial report for last year's fourth quarter, EMCOR said it's already adjusted the estimated 2020 figures to account for the downtime caused by the ransomware incident, but did not specify estimated losses, and we'll be able to follow the stock and over the next quarter or two report on its real impact on the company. We've done that before here at CyberHub Engage. We'll continue to do that now. And over to a next story where 2 cruise lines operated by the Carnival Corp have fallen victims to a cyber attack. Carnival announced on Monday of this week that Princess Cruises and the Holland America line have both been hit by cyber criminals in May of last year. Investigations into the incidents carried out by Princess and Holland America revealed that an unauthorized third party had gained access to a substantial amount of personal information belonging to both passengers and crew. Data accessed in the attack included email accounts, names, social security numbers, government identification numbers, passport numbers, health-related information, and credit card information of guests and employees. Not all guests were impacted by the incident, according to the company. In a statement released a few days ago on March 2nd by Princess Cruises, the company said it had identified a series of deceptive emails sent to employees resulting in unauthorized third-party access to some employee email accounts. The company said it notified law enforcement of the incident and are notifying affected individuals where possible. Princess and Holland America said they acted promptly to contain the attack and prevent further unauthorized access from occurring. They also retained a major cybersecurity firm to investigate the matter while reinforcing security and privacy protocols to further protect systems and information. So far, the investigation have not found any evidence that the data accessed without authorization during the attack has been misused. Both cruise lines said they would be offering credit monitoring and identity protection services free of charge to give those affected a peace of mind. It's unclear how many people have been affected by the incident. The number could potentially be very, very high since these are 2 ships, and we don't know how far back the data goes. We don't know who. We know the type of data that's in there, but there's still a bunch of information that is unavailable at the moment. This is also another blow for the cruise line, especially since one of its ships, the Diamond Princess, known as the Corona ship, was also impacted, and their stock is taking a beating. Now to our final story of the day. We reported on this yesterday. Let's Encrypt has now revealed that over 1 million of its HTTPS certificates containing a bug in its automatic validation code will not be revoked by the March 5th deadline, despite being non-compliant. The Free TLS organization discovered the flaw in late February It lies in the code which checks for a certificate authority authorization whenever users renew their certificates to make sure the domain owner hasn't put any restriction on who can renew. The bug means, as we stated yesterday, that web owners with multiple domain where Let's Encrypt's automatic checks only scan one of these, missing the others, that could in theory expose them to the risk of hijacking by cyber criminal. And so Let's Encrypt explained last night on their website, unfortunately, we believe it's likely that more than 1 million certificates will not be replaced before the compliance deadline for revocation is upon us. Rather than potentially break so many sites and cause concerns for their visitors, we have determined that it's in the best interest of the health of the internet for us to not revoke those certificates by the deadline. Let's Encrypt only offers certificates with a 90-day lifetimes, so potentially affected certificates that we may not revoke will leave the ecosystems relatively quickly. We plan to revoke more certificates as we become confident that doing so will not be needlessly disruptive to web users. So the certificates are expected to be out of circulation probably no later than June 4th, essentially based on that specific report. But that's it for our daily cyber briefing today. We are hanging out here in Atlanta with our friends at the Atlanta Cybersecurity Summit in downtown Atlanta at the Sheraton. Stop by, say hi. Registration is absolutely free through our website at cyberhubengage.com. Come by. Give us your word on what you think is going on in cybersecurity. We'll be here all day. Look forward to seeing you. And until tomorrow with our Friday wrap-up, folks, stay cyber safe.